In the quiet comfort of my childhood home, where each creaking floorboard holds a memory, I stand frozen, grappling with the words that just shattered the stillness. Gregory, my husband of 8 years, his face an unreadable mask, drops the bombshell that upends everything. Lydia, it's decided. Alara is moving in and your mother needs to go to a nursing home. If you're not okay with that, we can always divorce, he states coldly. Behind him, Alara, his sister, smirks with a venomous glee that chills me to the bone. Their cruelty, stark and unapologetic, feels like a physical blow. I've always believed in the sanctity of family, in the bonds that were supposed to be unbreakable. But here I am, watching those bonds fray and snap before my very eyes. My mother, frail and vulnerable since Dad's passing, has become a mere inconvenience in their scheme. Divorce? The word tastes bitter as I spit it out, disbelief lacing my voice. You'd throw away our marriage all for her? Gregory shrugs, his indifference a sharp contrast to the tempest raging inside me. Lydia, it's simple. Alara needs a place to stay, and frankly, your mother is just taking up space. We need to think practically. Practically? The audacity of his words stings. This house, brimming with decades of love and laughter, reduced to mere square footage in his eyes. I glance at my mother, sitting in her favorite armchair, a look of utter defeat etched on her face. The image of her being sent away, discarded like an old piece of furniture, ignites a fire within me. Fine, I say, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside. If divorce is what you want, Gregory, then you'll have it. But know this, I will not let you toss my mother aside like she's nothing. Gregory's eyes widen in surprise. Clearly, he hadn't expected me to call his bluff. Alara's smirk falters, her confidence shaken. In that moment, a plan begins to form in my mind. A plan to not only escape this toxic marriage, but to expose their callousness for what it truly is. They think they can manipulate me, break me down, and cast aside the people I love most. They're sorely mistaken. As I head to my room, the words of my father echo in my mind, a mantra of strength and resilience. Never let anyone dim your light, Lydia. Stand tall, even in the darkest of times. Tonight, as I lay in bed, I'm not just planning a divorce. I'm planning a reckoning. Gregory and Alara have awakened a side of me they'll wish they hadn't. I'll protect my mother and our home, no matter what it takes. This is more than just a marital dispute. It's a battle for dignity, for respect, and for the sanctity of the home I've loved my whole life. They may have declared war, but I'm more than ready to fight back. The morning light filters through the curtains, casting a warm glow over what feels like the aftermath of a storm. Today, the battle lines are drawn. I'm not just fighting for my mother's dignity. I'm fighting for my own. I start the day with a phone call to a lawyer, my voice steady but my hands trembling. The lawyer, a woman named Miss Hernandez, listens intently as I explain the situation. Mrs. Graham, we can start the divorce proceedings immediately, she assures me. And regarding your mother, we'll ensure she stays right where she belongs. Her words are a balm, and for the first time since Gregory's ultimatum, I feel a flicker of hope. As I hang up, I'm met with the sight of Gregory and Alara in the kitchen, their laughter grating against my nerves. Alara, perched on a stool, is flipping through a magazine, while Gregory prepares breakfast with an air of forced normalcy. Good morning, Lydia, Gregory says, his tone casual, as if our world hadn't just crumbled. I've contacted a lawyer, I reply, my voice devoid of emotion. We're getting a divorce, Gregory, and my mother is staying. Alara's eyes snap up from her magazine, her earlier smugness replaced by shock. You're serious? You'd really throw away your marriage over this? Over this? I echo, my anger simmering. This is about respect, Alara, something you know nothing about. Gregory sets down the spatula, his face hardening. You're being irrational, Lydia. You can't just... Irrational? I cut him off. No, Gregory. What's irrational is expecting me to abandon my mother for your sister's convenience. The tension in the room is palpable, a silent war raging with every word exchanged. My mother shuffles into the room, her presence a reminder of what's at stake. Lydia, is everything all right? She asks, her voice frail. Everything's going to be fine, Mom, I assure her, my resolve strengthening. Gregory and Alara exchange a look, a silent conversation that speaks volumes. They had underestimated me, and now they're scrambling. In the following days, the house becomes a battlefield of silent glares and unspoken words. Alara's presence, once just an annoyance, now feels like a constant provocation. Every smug smile, every dismissive gesture fuels my determination. The day I receive the divorce papers, my hands shake as I sign them. There's no joy in this victory, only a deep sense of loss for what could have been. But as I watch Gregory's face fall when I hand them to him, I feel a surge of empowerment. "This is what you wanted, isn't it?" I say, my voice steady. "Freedom from us, from responsibility. Well, you've got it." Gregory's response is a mumbled excuse, a feeble attempt to justify his actions. But I'm done listening. I'm done being the one who bends. As I retreat to my room, the reality of what I've set in motion hits me. There's no turning back now, but in this moment of solitude, I don't feel fear or regret. I feel a fierce sense of pride. I am Lydia Graham, and I will not be broken. Not by Gregory, not by Alara, and certainly not by the cruel hand fate has dealt me. This is just the beginning. The real battle is yet to come, and I am ready for it. The days following the initiation of the divorce proceedings feel like navigating a minefield in what used to be my sanctuary. Gregory's aloofness and Alara's scornful glances are constant reminders of the battle I'm embroiled in. But I refuse to be intimidated in my own home. A week later, I'm sitting across from Miss Hernandez in her office, the divorce papers spread out like a map of a battlefield. "The good news," she begins, her eyes scanning the documents, "is that you have a strong case for keeping the house, especially given your mother's condition." I nod, a mixture of relief and sorrow washing over me. This house, once a symbol of familial warmth, has become the core of my struggle. "But," Miss Hernandez continues, "there's something unusual. It seems Gregory has significant debts, ones he's kept hidden." "Debts?" The word hits me like a wave. Gregory's secretive phone calls and sudden expenses now make a chilling sense. The realization that he's not only betrayed my trust but also endangered our financial security is a bitter pill to swallow. "Can he claim the house because of these debts?" I ask, my voice barely above a whisper. "It's unlikely, given the circumstances. But we need to be prepared," she replies, her tone firm yet reassuring. Armed with this new information, I return home, my mind racing. The sight of Alara lounging in the living room, her feet disrespectfully propped up on the coffee table, ignites my anger. "Enjoying yourself?" I ask, unable to mask my contempt. Alara looks up, her eyes cold. "Oh, I'm just getting comfortable. After all, it's going to be my home soon." Her smugness is like a slap in the face, but I stand my ground. "Actually, Alara, you might want to start looking for another place. The house isn't going to be part of the divorce settlement." Her smirk fades, replaced by a flicker of panic. "What do you mean?" Gregory said. "What Gregory said and what's legal are two different things," I cut her off. "And while we're at it, let's discuss your brother's hidden debts." Alara's face strains of color. "Debts? What are you talking about?" "Oh, don't play dumb, Alara. It's unbecoming," I retort. "Gregory's financial troubles are going to complicate things for both of you." For the first time since she arrived, I see uncertainty in Alara's eyes. The revelation of Gregory's debts seems to have shaken her confidence, her facade of control slipping. Gregory walks in at that moment, his face a mask of confusion. "Lydia, what's this about debts?" "Ask your brother, Alara. He seems to have been keeping secrets from both of us," I say, turning to leave the room. As I walk away, I can't help but feel a sense of satisfaction. The tables are turning, and for once, Gregory and Alara are the ones caught off guard. But this is more than just a game of one-upmanship. It's about justice, about reclaiming my life and protecting my mother. Gregory and Alara may have thought they could control me, but they're about to learn just how wrong they were. The battle lines have been drawn, and I'm not just defending my ground, I'm advancing. The following days are a blur of cold exchanges and tense silences. Gregory's once familiar presence now feels like an oppressive cloud hanging over the house. Alara, though visibly shaken by the revelation of the debts, clings to her disdainful attitude. But their veneer of confidence is cracking, and I intend to shatter it. One evening, a week after my meeting with Miss Hernandez, I receive an unexpected phone call. It's from Posey, my mother-in-law. Her voice, usually laced with subtle barbs, now trembles with unease. "Lydia, we need to talk. Can you come over?" she asks, a note of desperation in her tone. The next day, I find myself at Gregory's parents' house, a place I had once considered a second home. The door opens, and Posey stands there, her usual poise replaced by a nervous fidgeting. "What is it, Posy? Why the sudden need to talk?" I ask, stepping inside. In the living room, the air is thick with tension. Posy wrings her hands, a clear sign of her anxiety. "Lydia, we heard about the divorce and the debts. Gregory never told us." "Seems he didn't tell anyone," I reply, my words sharp. Posy sighs, the weight of her son's actions bearing down on her. "Lydia, please, is there any way this can be resolved without all this mess?" I can't help but feel a bitter satisfaction at her discomfort. This was the woman who had subtly undermined me at every turn, who had always favored her son's whims over my well-being. "Posy, you're asking me to overlook your son's betrayal, his lies, and his attempt to throw my mother out of her own house. You think that can just be swept under the rug?" I demand, my voice rising. Posy flinches, the reality of my words hitting her hard. I didn't know about all that," she stammers. "That's the problem, Posy. You never knew, or perhaps never wanted to know. Gregory and Alara's actions are a reflection of what they've been taught, what they've been allowed to get away with," I say, my gaze unwavering. For a moment, Posy seems lost for words, the veneer of the matriarch crumbling before me. Then, with a heavy sigh, she speaks. I'm sorry, Lydia. I didn't realize." As I leave their house, Posy's apology echoing in my ears, I feel a complex mix of emotions. Anger, certainly, at the years of subtle jabs and favoritism, but also a sense of closure, of having spoken my truth to the woman who had, in many ways, enabled Gregory's behavior. This isn't just a victory in the battle of the divorce, it's a personal victory, a reclaiming of my voice and my worth. Gregory and Alara may have started this war, but I'm the one who's going to end it. And as I drive back to my house, to the life I'm fighting to protect, I know one thing for certain. I am not the same woman they thought they could control. I am stronger, fierier, and more determined than ever. The real battle is just beginning, and I am ready for it. The finalization of the divorce arrives like a storm, fierce and liberating. Gregory's signature on the papers is more than a legal formality. It's the end of a chapter filled with betrayal and the beginning of a new narrative written on my terms. In the aftermath, I find myself standing in the now quiet house, a sense of solemn victory washing over me. The property is mine, and my mother's place in her own home is secure. But the win is bittersweet. The house feels larger, emptier. Alara had moved out the day before the divorce was finalized, her departure marked by a sullen silence that was a stark contrast to her usual brashness. As she left, our eyes met, and for a fleeting second, I saw something that resembled regret. But it was gone as quickly as it appeared, replaced by the familiar scowl. In the weeks that follow, I focus on rebuilding. The house undergoes a transformation, each change a step towards reclaiming my space. Fresh paint, new curtains, and the removal of everything that reminds me of Gregory and Alara. My mother watches this process, her eyes reflecting a mix of sadness and relief. "Lydia, are you sure about all this?" she asks one evening, her voice tinged with concern. "I've never been more sure, Mom," I reply, placing a comforting hand on her shoulder. "This is our home, and it's time we made new memories here." But the past isn't ready to let go just yet. One evening, a knock on the door disrupts the newfound peace. Standing on the doorstep is Oswald, Gregory's father. His eyes are weary, his posture resigned. "Lydia, I need to talk to you," he says, his voice heavy. I lead him into the living room, offering a seat but not warmth. Oswald looks around, a sad smile playing on his lips. "This house, it's changed," he observes. "It needed to," I respond, my tone neutral. Oswald nods, understanding the unspoken words. "Lydia, I'm here to apologize. For Gregory, for Alara, and for how we treated you and your mother." His apology, sincere as it may be, doesn't erase the pain. But it's a start, a small step towards healing. Oswald talks about Gregory, about his failures and mistakes, painting a picture of a man lost in his own shortcomings. "I don't expect forgiveness, Lydia. I just wanted you to know that we see the pain we caused." Oswald says he stands to leave. His departure leaves me with a sense of closure, albeit a complicated one. The battle may be over, but the scars remain. Yet in their own way, they're a testament to my strength, to the journey I've undertaken. As I sit there, in the quiet aftermath of Oswald's visit, I realize that this battle has been about more than just a divorce or a house. It's been about finding my voice, about standing up for myself and my mother. And in doing so, I've discovered a resilience I never knew I had. The future is uncertain, but it's mine to shape. And whatever it holds, I know I'll face it with the same strength that brought me through this storm. Life after the divorce settles into a new rhythm, a dance of healing and rediscovery. The house, now infused with a sense of liberation, becomes a haven for my mother and me. But just when I start to believe that the storm has passed, the winds of the past swirl back into my life. It happens on a quiet Tuesday evening. My phone rings, and Gregory's name flashes on the screen, a ghost from a chapter I had closed. I answer, curiosity piqued and defenses up. "Lydia, I need to talk to you." Gregory's voice comes through, hesitant and strained. "Why, Gregory? What's left to say?" I ask, my tone guarded. "It's about everything. I've made mistakes, Lydia, big ones. I realize that now," he says, a note of desperation creeping into his voice. His words, meant to convey remorse, only stir a well of bitterness within me. "Mistakes? You call uprooting our lives and siding with Alara against your own wife and her mother just mistakes?" Gregory pauses, and when he speaks again, his voice is laced with something akin to regret. "I was wrong, Lydia, about Alara, about how I treated you and your mother. I see that now." The confession, though unexpected, doesn't soften the sharp edges of my memories. Realizations don't erase actions, Gregory. You chose your path. There's a shuffling sound, and I picture Gregory pacing, a habit of his when cornered. I know, but Lydia, I miss you. I miss us." The admission hangs in the air, a plea wrapped in nostalgia. But the man I loved, the man I thought I knew, vanished long ago, replaced by a stranger. "Miss us? Gregory, there is no us anymore. You made sure of that." My voice steady. Gregory's voice breaks slightly. "Can we meet? Just once to talk. Please, Lydia." The request, a blend of hope and despair, makes me pause. Part of me yearns for closure, for a final goodbye to the man I once shared my life with. But another part, the part hardened by betrayal, knows better. "No, Gregory, there's nothing left to discuss. We've said all there is to say," I say, the finality in my voice sealing the conversation. As I end the call, a sense of empowerment washes over me. The Gregory who stood on my doorstep all those months ago, demanding changes I couldn't accept, is no more. In his place stands a man broken by his choices, seeking solace in a past that no longer exists. That night, as I sit with my mother, sharing stories and laughter, I realize the full extent of my journey. From a woman caught in the tides of others' decisions to one who commands her own destiny. The road ahead is mine to travel, with its twists and turns, its shadows and lights. But one thing is clear. I am no longer the woman who once sought validation in the eyes of a man who could not see her worth. I am Lydia, whole and unbroken, master of my story. In the weeks that follow my last conversation with Gregory, life takes on a peaceful rhythm. My mother and I find joy in the small things, gardening, cooking, and long walks in the neighborhood. The house, once a battleground, is now a sanctuary of tranquility. But just as I begin to bask in the calm, an unexpected encounter jolts me back to reality. It's a sunny Saturday morning, and I'm at the local market when I spot Alara. She's at a fruit stand, her once haughty demeanor replaced by a look of wariness. Our eyes meet, and for a moment time stands still. I approach her, curiosity getting the better of me. "Alara, it's been a while." She turns, her face a mask of surprise and discomfort. "Lydia, yeah, it has." Her voice lacks its usual edge, her posture deflated. The sight of her so diminished stirs a complex mix of emotions within me. "I heard about the debts, the troubles you and Gregory are facing," I say, keeping my tone neutral. Alara lets out a sigh, the fight seemingly drained from her. "Yeah, things didn't quite go as planned. Gregory's struggling, and I guess I didn't help matters." Her admission, a rare glimpse of vulnerability, takes me aback. "I suppose we all have our lessons to learn," I reply. Alara nods, a flicker of something like remorse crossing her face. "I just wanted to say, Lydia, I'm sorry. For everything." The apology, unexpected and raw, leaves me momentarily speechless. This was the woman who had once seemed incapable of regret, now standing before me, seeking forgiveness. "Apology noted, Alara. But it doesn't change what happened," I say, my words firm but not unkind. "I know," she replies, her gaze dropping. I needed you to know." We part ways, the encounter leaving a trail of mixed feelings in its wake. As I walk back home, I reflect on the journey I've embarked on, the pain, the betrayal, and the triumphs. In the solitude of the evening, I sit with my mother on our porch, the sunset painting the sky in hues of orange and pink. We talk about the future, about the possibilities that lie ahead. "Mom, do you think I did the right thing?" I ask, seeking affirmation. She takes my hand, her eyes warm and understanding. "Lydia, you stood up for yourself and for me. You showed strength and grace in the face of adversity. Yes, you did the right thing." Her words settle in my heart, a comforting affirmation of my choices. As the night falls, I realize that this chapter of my life, though fraught with challenges, has been a crucible of transformation. I am no longer defined by the shadows of my past. I am a woman reborn, resilient, and free. My story, once entangled in the whims of others, is now mine to write. And as I look to the stars, I make a silent vow to live a life of authenticity, to cherish the love of my mother, and to embrace the endless possibilities that await. I am Lydia Graham, and my journey is just beginning.